Hello, RXL1 here. I thought today I'll talk about my rifle, which is the Daisy Red Ryder, this is it here. And the first thing I'd like to say is, if you need a gun cover, which I tend to, because in this part of the world people tend to freak a bit if they see a gun, but there's really no need to buy a gun cover if you're quite handy at sewing. What I did was I just found some thick materials, this velvety type stuff, and I made it on the sewing machine. Just cut the material out the right size for the gun and sewed it up. Put a drawstring closure at the end, and it works really well. Protects the gun and kind of hides it a bit. I'll just open the gun cover up and get it out. And this is it. Now, these wide rifles were never really meant for serious target shooting or hunting. What they really excel at is a rapid fire fun gun. And the main magazines hold 650 rounds of BB shot. I mean, you could shoot for a week and not get through it. And I found with a bit of practice you can get a fairly well aimed shot out about every 6 seconds, which is pretty good going. The most fun you can really have is to fill a shelf up with tin cans and bits of plastic and jar lids and just see how fast you can clear the whole lot. And that's what I do mainly. It's just really good fun and entertainment. I think there's two things that people don't quite realise with these. One is with BB shots you can recover and reuse most of it, which saves a lot of money, especially when you're firing off 650 rounds at a time. So you can do that. And the other thing is, I found this tube under the barrel. You can actually put a reserve supply of BBs in, BB rounds, and that probably holds, I haven't tried it, but that probably holds about another 150 rounds. And I was a bit worried, I wasn't sure what was the other end of this tube, whether it was open and the BBs would end up going inside it somehow, coming out the end. But I kind of poked a bit of wire down there and found that it was blocked off at the end. And although I'd never done it, you could actually put another reserve supply of BBs in, if you don't mind the extra weight. But, yeah. Most things I buy, I don't tend to keep the box that it came in for very long. But with this rifle, I've always kept the box because it's so nicely printed, and it's just quite an inspiration in itself. There's loads of printing on there, so inspires you to go out and do some shooting. It's all about fun and the legend of the Wild West, and true legends live forever, and Red Ryder cartoons, and talks about the gun and its history, and it's just a really nice box to. I mean, you could even put it on your wall as a decoration. As I say, it was never really meant as a serious target rifle, but initially, to get it zeroed in, you have to do some target shooting, and there I came across the problem, because I've got it. I thought 20 feet was where the most fun was to be had, so I zeroed it in at 20 feet. Got the elevation more or less spot on. You can get, I found, about 1.5 inch groups at 20 feet, which is pretty good for what is this, just a fun gun. But what I found was the windage was slightly out. It was grouping about an inch to the right on average, and there's no windage adjustment on the side. There's quite a decent elevation adjustment, but no windage. And I was kind of compensating for it every time, which you can do, but it gets a bit of a nuisance. after a time, and if you let somebody else try it out, you have to explain to them what to do. So I thought, well, there must be a way of getting windage adjustment on the site. So eventually I came up with an idea. I'll get closer to the camera. If you imagine that's the blade of the rear sight, which has the notch in it that lines up with the foresight. What I did was I ground it right down flat so that the original slot disappeared, and then I made up a U-shaped bit of thin metal, which I'm representing with this bit of cardboard with a slot in it. I found just one slight cut with a standard hacksaw blade was about the right width. And then what I did, I kind of pinched it, formed it up in the vise so that there's a nice push bit on the blade of the rear sight. Pushed it on, and of course then you can move it from one side to the other to get windage adjustment. So with a bit more groups in targets, I managed to get that pretty well spot on. And once it is spot on, you can put some feed super glue or thin two-part glue in to fix it on there. So that's the windage adjustment set. The other slight problem with the sighting I found was that at the muzzle it's got a kind of plastic plug in the end that I'm hoping is a push fit around the barrel, which is inside this big tube. I think it must be a pretty good fit because it's pretty accurate in its shooting. But the foresight is actually part of this plastic plug, and what I noticed was that plastic plug was turning slightly in the end of the barrel, which obviously doesn't help with the sighting. So I got some very thin two-part glue, and there's a kind of square hole under there where you can push some glue in, and I'll push some glue in around the end of the muzzle just to stop that plastic bit turning, and now that's pretty solid, so that's helped with the sighting as well. So that was pretty good. So now it's a really good rifle. It's kind of spot on with the zeroing, and you can just have a good old blast in the garden, just knocking tin cans over, and you know that the sighting couldn't really be any better. So that's my Daisy Red Ryder rifle. And well, the other thing I did was I found on the forearm the edges and corners were a bit sharp because they weren't rounded off at all. So I got a high-speed grinder and just ran it round the edges to round the edges off, so it's more comfortable to hold. So I think that's all I need to say about it, really. As the Americans say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.